Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the deal of the decade. We're going to break down how the Danish logistics powerhouse DSV bought its German rival, DB Schenker, and in the process created a brand new, undisputed king of global logistics. All right, let's get right into it. To really understand how one company pulled this off, you first have to get a feel for the absolute chaos of the world they were operating in. You see, this wasn't just some simple business deal. It was a massive power move made right in the middle of a global pressure cooker. You know, the year 2025 was basically a minefield for global supply chains. Seriously, every single pillar of global trade felt like it was shaking, with just a ton of uncertainty and disruption coming from all sides. Just try to picture this. The year kicks off and the entire U.S. supply chain is on the very brink of collapse. A huge port strike that could have cost billions a day is stopped at the last possible second. Okay, shoo. But just as everyone takes a breath, bam, a new front opens up in the trade war, slapping sweeping tariffs on global trade and trapping businesses in this legal nightmare. The ground was just constantly shifting under everyone's feet. And get this. Here's a perfect example of the impact on another front. A key U.S. rule that let all these small, cheap parcels come into the country tax-free, it got eliminated. And just like that, the volume of e-commerce packages from overseas crashed by 54%. The whole era of that $5 t-shirt shipped directly to your door was pretty much over. And it was right in the middle of all this volatility that one company saw its chance to make a truly monumental move. So let's get to the main event. While pretty much everyone else was just trying to react to the chaos, the Danish logistics giant DSV, well, they went on the attack. They executed a historic acquisition that was about to reshape the entire industry. So, in the second quarter of 2025, it became official. DSV completed its massive 14.3 billion euro acquisition of its German rival, DB Schenker. Now, what's really wild here is the sheer scale of this new company. We're talking about a combined revenue of over 40 billion euros, a workforce of 160,000 people across more than 90 countries. I mean, overnight, this merger created an absolute monster in the logistics world. And this chart really tells the whole story. These companies, freight forwarders, they're basically the travel agents for all the stuff moving around the globe. And in one single move, DSV just leaped over the industry's longtime leaders, DHL and Kuehne Nagel, to grab that number one spot. But you know, as we're about to see, becoming the biggest is one thing. Making it all actually work, that's a whole other ballgame. So how in the world does a company like DSV plan to swallow a giant like Schenker and actually make it more profitable? Well, it turns out they have a very specific playbook for this kind of thing. Yeah, despite this absolutely massive task in front of them, DSV's leadership is showing nothing but confidence. The message coming from the top is crystal clear. The integration is off to a great start, and they feel like they couldn't be in a better position. So the magic word here, the whole point of the deal, is this concept. Synergy. See, DSV isn't just buying Schenker's customers. It's making a huge bet that it can run that exact same business way more efficiently by getting rid of all the duplicate costs. You know, 2 IT departments, 2 sets of offices, 2 layers of management. And that bet has a number attached to it. The target is a staggering 9 billion Danish kroner. That's about 1.2 billion euros in annual cost savings that they plan to unlock by the end of 2028. That's a huge number. Now, this isn't going to happen overnight. DSV has laid out a really clear, multi-year plan to get this done. They figure they'll have about half of those savings by the end of 2026, then 3/4 by the end of 2027, as they systematically combine operations country by country. But honestly, the biggest challenge here might not be about the money. It could be about culture. People have compared this to trying to merge a speedboat with a battleship. On one side, you've got DSV's lean, aggressive, profit-driven culture. On the other, Schenker's more traditional, heavily unionized, German-centric way of doing things. Getting those two to operate as one, that is a massive, massive undertaking. And to their credit, DSV is walking into this with their eyes wide open. They know the problems. They're already getting to work on known issues like a money-losing U.S. trucking division at Schenker, a weak German market that's affecting both of them, and of course the very complex but very necessary negotiations with German labor unions. Okay, so a new giant is now sitting at the top of the industry. Let's zoom back out for a second and think about the ripple effects. What does this really mean for global trade? And more importantly, for the customers who rely on it every single day? Because whether you're a small business owner shipping your products or you're just a consumer buying stuff online, a move this big, believe it or not, has real consequences for how everything gets from point A to point B. For customers, it really is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, hey, you get access to this incredible, unmatched global network that's probably more resilient. But on the other hand, there's now one less mega player in the game, and that means your power to negotiate for better prices, it might have just taken a pretty serious hit. And in this new world, being the biggest also means having the biggest responsibility. The new DSV seems to get this. They're pairing their enormous scale with some major investments in sustainability, like aiming for net zero emissions and adding hundreds of new electric trucks. It's a clear signal that they believe size and sustainability have to go hand in hand. At the end of the day, DSV's huge move has completely redrawn the map of global logistics. There's a new king, and every other company out there is now forced to react. So the big question we're left with is this. Will they try to fight scale with more scale, leading to even more mergers? Or will they be forced to innovate, find smarter, more nimble ways to survive by offering things their giant rivals can't, like hyper-specialized services or using AI for predictive analytics? The race is officially on.